Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for your marketing agency so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through consulting and CFO services. Now, you see, we got a little guest right here. Everybody in the house is sick but us. We're the last two lone survivors. So we're gonna have a little extra baby babble on here, but it's okay. This is his second episode. So y'all, we've done it before, but he promised he's gonna be whispering and on his best behavior. Now, with all that said, we're on season 2. $1 million agencies. That's the journey that we're focusing on. So I had to put out some feelers. I said, hey, people, I need some people that are doing this at an extremely high level, that are doing this with high quality, that have great brand recognition out there. Who do I need to bring on, right? And people are like, damn, I got some people for you. And I'm like, all right. And one of these people was Joe Rare. Now, I'm going to let him introduce himself. I already know this is about to be a great one. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me. Yeah, I
All right, so
appreciate it.
tell the people name, company, how long you've been doing it, and a little synopsis of what makes you guys special.
My name is Joe Rare. I am kind of a serial entrepreneur. I call myself an underground entrepreneur. So I'm not huge into the get on social media and talk about everything I'm up to. If you see any content from me, it's not me putting it out because I don't do any of that. My virtual assistants do, which my core company is a VA services company. So level 9 virtual. And we currently have almost 900 VAs, I believe. And so we've been growing really well. I own 6 total companies right now. And yeah, I'm just a digital marketing guy turn, entrepreneur, turn investor, turn all those things. And yeah, I just love building things. So that's it.
Okay, now see, I told y'all we found us some fire people. Now notice, digital marketer, investor, entrepreneur, and I love building stuff. So we're gonna jump into all that because I think it seems like it's a trend, but the people we're bringing on have that viewpoint from multiple angles because they do run multiple businesses. So let's start with, how are you balancing your time? Because you're a builder. That means, I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, I like to build this and get this going. Okay, it's moving on its own. We're going to move on to another project or a new company. So tell us what it's like, or the best ways you found to balance these different ideas and businesses that you've built over time.
So my secret sauce is that we use virtual assistants to operate everything. So I don't actually operate any of the businesses. So what I love is I love the vision side of it. Um, once we can get a vision aligned with our execution and our fulfillment and our operations and our processes, as soon as we can get all those things in a line, I can step back and step away from the business and allow somebody else to operate it. And we've been successful doing that using only virtual assistants. We do have a couple outsourced US team members, but that's only in finance, our placements team, and then sales, and that's it. Everything else from our operations director to recruitment to HR to our marketing team to our advertising team, everybody else in the entire company is all based in the Philippines. And we provide that same service, so it's kind of it's very helpful. But my kind of claim to fame is to be the ability to build the processes to run companies without me involved.
Okay. So I think one of the questions we like to ask is, who are you going to bank on more, a VA type or overseas, or a local US based person, and why? And I think you'll be the perfect person to ask because you're helping place these people as well as utilizing them, right?
Yeah. So who would I bank on? I'd bank on the one of, if you're choosing 2 candidates, one overseas and one local, I mean, you could flip a coin. You can evaluate people based on their personality, based on their merit. I'm very big into giving everybody an opportunity, but the reality is that you can get similar or oftentimes better talent overseas at a cost leverage. And the reason that I say that is, for example, my lead developer has a master's degree and he's a professor at a university. And then he works for us. And so he is our lead developer. He's been with us for years now. But I couldn't go find that in the United States. I couldn't go find that. And the cost to go find that would bankrupt a brand new business. It's just not possible. And so when you look at the cost leverage piece of it, you can get the same talent for less overseas. It takes time. It takes, I think, resources and the kind of the skill set to actually go find those people, to go build teams that are remote overseas and can align with your vision and align with your processes and work within your company. However, it's absolutely doable. We do it every single day for companies all around the world. So this isn't something that's an anomaly. This is happening in huge, ways in small companies, big companies. I mean, we service some pretty gigantic companies that come in and buy entire teams from us, which is kind of an avenue that we're really focused on right now. But people come in, they'll buy 20 VAs at one time and say, okay, I want, not buy, but they'll buy services and buy entire teams from HR to project management to marketing to sales and so forth. And they'll come in and they'll just get the entire team from us.
Okay, that's a strong argument. Like you said, maybe the same, if not better, fraction of the cost, and just a different mindset. Can you tell us like which specific parts? Like, are you an India person? Are you
Philippines
Philippines
and South America? Yeah.
Philippines. Okay. Now I've always wondered this: Philippines or South America? Which one?
Depends what skill set. Depends which skill set. And so you look at cultural differences. So the Philippines are going to be very much more. They're going to be doers. They're going to be the implementers. They're going to be the people who you give them something and they'll go execute. They're not going to be as, what I want to say, what word am I trying to say? They're not going to be as aggressive, right? So in a sales role, they are not going to, in our experience, they're not going to be the best people to put in sales roles. And the reason for that is just, it's not their cultural, personality. They're not dominant. It's not a dominant culture, right? They are very much a loyal, yes, how can we help you? They provide exceptional service, and they want to support and please and help companies grow. However, South America, much more aggressive, much more assertive. They are dynamite on the phone. They're dynamite they will just dial until their fingers bleed, right? And so very different personalities for very different roles. And so it's not one or the other, it's and both.
I like it. And I think that's something that we found out too in utilizing overseas talent is you have to really pay attention and learn the cultural norms, because you can't ask somebody to be assertive who typically aren't assertive, or vice versa. Because I know there was a point where I was like, oh, just do this. And they were like, dude, what? And there was that personality clash. And I'm not used to kind of leading. I just kind of want to do. So I think that's super important to know when you are hiring overseas and not somebody you can lay eyes on or US based. Make sure you do some research on the culture and how would they fit your company and what the best task would be. Now, you said, I want you to go just a little bit deeper into this one. You said, I find my Philippines people are more your doers and implementers versus my South American team are more, they can, I guess we'll say, analyze better or think deeper. What task have you found each one best fits or solves for maybe your clients or yourself?
Well, I mean, I would back that up just a bit, and I don't believe that the Philippines are not the place for like analysis and things like that. What I refer to is like assertiveness and being aggressive in how they actually accomplish something and work on something. So the things like cold calling, things like sales, closing, appointment setting, those kinds of things are really, really solid in Central and South America, less effective in, say, the Philippines. So with that, though, I believe that, some of the areas that we see really, really big results is in the Philippines in operations. Very organized, right? They're very clean and organized individuals who understand how to create systems, and they can support your systems once you have them built, and they can make sure the processes are followed from A to Z. We use heavily our team to build our SOPs. So I will never sit down and write an SOP ever because I hate doing it. And so I would rather say, hey, let's get on a call. We're going to record the call. We're going to go through the entire process of whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing. And then from there, we're going to have you, since you were just on it with me, you go create the SOP. And then they create the SOPs. And then we have an entire library of exactly how the operations of the company works. So, and then in the South American side, it's the cold calling, it's the appointment setting, all of those things.
Okay, I love it. Okay, now let's take this a step forward. So now you said multiple businesses, you handle that by kind of getting those processes going, setting the foundation, and then you're good. Tell us though, on the way to building it to whatever you deem as they are good and ready to be solo, what is that process like as you're building it? Because for those of you who don't know, we are talking to a 7-figure agency. So it's not like we're guessing here. It's not like we don't know what we're talking about. This is somebody who's already doing it at a high level. So can you maybe tell us, like, I'll go this route. Top 3 things to not do if you want to get the 7-figure.
So top 3 things not to do. Don't spend your money. Like that's the first thing is when you get some money, don't spend it, because most people do immediately as they turn around and dump it into whatever. I guess rather than just like naming off 3, I mean, a few of the things that I would focus on is the lifeblood of any business is sales, right? It's cash flow. And so if you're not making money, if you're not able to produce money, that's the first thing you need to solve. If you cannot, if you're going to start a business and you can't sell somebody on whatever service or product you're going to sell, you have a huge problem. So operations, teams, getting out of your business, having somebody else operate, getting to 7 figures, all of it begins with somebody else giving you money for the thing that you're trying to sell. If you cannot sell and you cannot create offers and get somebody to say, I am interested and I will give you money for the thing that you're selling, then you are dead and you don't have a business. And so the first problem to solve is your sales problem. And as soon as you can figure that piece out, your next problem is fulfillment. So I sold something, and now how do I make sure that we provide what we said we were selling? And as soon as you can handle fulfillment, then your next thing is, okay, how do we get more? And then you go in and you generate more, and more is based on leads and it's based on opportunities. And so now you need more of those. And hopefully through this process, you're receiving more leads, you're doing more sales, and then your fulfillment is a huge bottleneck. And that's where you put people in place first. That's the first place that you put somebody else, because as the entrepreneur, as the owner, you should be able to sell your own stuff. I believe that everybody who sells anything should be able to sell their own stuff better than almost everybody else. And you may be very much techie, like nerd type, and not, but you still have to sell it to somebody, because you have to sell it to the salesperson who's going to come in and work with you, right? If you can't sell somebody on the idea, on the vision, you're dead. You can't even hire somebody because you can't communicate your offer. You can't communicate your value. And so the sales piece of it is super important. So I would tell people, don't spend money. Make sure that you say that you focus on sales first. Revenue is the problem solver of almost all things in business, right? So if you have cash, you can go buy the results. You can go buy the processes. You can go buy, somebody's time who has the answer to all the stuff that you want. So cash in a business is typically the solution to literally everything, in a way, if you leverage that, the resource effectively.
Okay, I like that. Are you one of the people that say you don't need to pass off sale till you hit 1 million? Because we've had a lot of people on here recently that are like, hey, until you do 1 million in sales, don't even think about, I'm going to go hire this salesperson or get somebody to fill that role, because they say that up until you get to 1 million, you don't know enough to really be able to bring them on and train them and tell them the right things to say. You agree with that?
I don't have a hard line on that. I think that when you have the capacity, or I should say, when you have the volume to bring more people on, then do it. If you have so many sales opportunities that you as one person can't handle them, then you're missing opportunities. So bring somebody on. If you don't have enough opportunity and you're not necessarily needed somewhere else in the business, then just do sales yourself. If you have the time and that's your focus, then do that. If you're not good at sales though, and you don't feel like you can get better, then bring somebody else in who does do that and let them take it over. And there's a lot of ways to get yourself into that position, but you have to have somebody who's dynamite at sales, because that is the lifeblood of the business. The moment you stop selling, you're dead. Because attrition, no matter what, every business has attrition. You will eventually lose your customer base over time. And so sales is super important.
Okay. I like it. All right. Let's go back a little bit to when you first started the journey. So now you start the company, right? And I don't know why I didn't ask this. Are we married?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So
Wife,
now we got
kids.
shout out to wifey.
Yep.
Shout out to
Wife,
wifey.
2 kids.
All right. Two kids. All right. So when you started this company, how long ago did you start it?
Oh, it's been a while now. So 2015-ish.
Okay. So about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
You go up to wife and you say, babe, I'm thinking about starting this company. Her reaction is what?
That's another one. Because I already had other things. So, I mean, when in 2015, 16, I want to say maybe it was 2016. Yeah, it's 2015. I had a company that we ended up closing down, and I had an agency. We had 27 US employees sitting in desks in a fancy office, and glass walls and doors and all those things. And my business development person was not developing business. And we had 2 clients that were worth 40% of all of our revenue. And both of them canceled in like a 2.5 week period. So we lost 40% of all of our revenue in the blink of an eye. And I'm a hardcore optimist. So I was like, oh, all we got to do is replace that revenue. Like, no big deal, right? Just sell and bring on more business, right? And I have somebody whose their only job in the company is to develop business. That's what they do. And so I couldn't imagine us not being able to get there. Simultaneously, I met a guy who's one of my close friends now. And he told me, oh, close down your agency. Like, you're losing cash, right? Because I was using debt to pay payroll, right? Because we had all these people. And by the way, then we still had, 12 people in the Philippines. So we had VAs and US employees. And so he said, hey, close down your agency. You're going to end up going under anyway. And why would you want to use, debt to pay payroll? And I was like, we'll get there. All we got to do is replace that revenue. And so I thought, no big deal. I'm going to get there. And so I forget what it was, over time, 6 months or so, we just continued struggling. Same thing, never replaced the revenue. Just had challenge after challenge after challenge. And I caught a video of that same guy that I was just speaking with. And it was about 6 months later, and he had gone from 60,000 a month in revenue to 400,000. And I was like, what? So I texted him and I was like, what did you do? Like, that's amazing. And he just said, you didn't listen to me, did you? And I was like, no. And so at this point, I'm now about $250,000 in debt. We haven't replaced the revenue. We've lost more. We're not growing. And it was really challenging. So I ended up about 2 days later, firing everybody in the office, closing down the office, and basically shutting down the whole agency. His advice to me was, if you want to relaunch your business, do so and do one thing for one niche and do it better than anybody else, and you'll be fed for life. And so that really hit home. And I said, okay, what niche though? I don't even know who. We used to do everything for everybody. Any small business anywhere, we did everything. And so then he told me one piece of advice that I thought was very, very interesting. I've carried it with me since. Is he said, if you were to look at any of your clients, and if they were to call you, all of them call you on a Sunday, who would you pick up the phone for? And there was only one client that I would pick up the phone for. And the reason that I would pick up the phone for them is quite simply because they weren't going to call with a fire, because we were killing it for them. It was always going to be a good call. And so I thought, okay, that's the only one. And he says, well, that's your niche. And so that was the wedding industry. And so that's how I ended up opening an agency in serving wedding venues. So that was the first time that I'd actually niched down. And we went from there, we relaunched, which was, hey, go to my wife and say, hey, I'm going to start a new business. We went from 0 to 109,000 a month in 4 months. And then from there, we paid
Wait.
Yeah.
0 to what?
Yeah. So we went from 0. Well, technically I had one client. I was getting paid like, $3,000 a month. But so we went from $3,000 a month to 109,000 in 4 months. And from there I said, okay, well, I kind of got this process. Like, this kind of makes sense. I've got this virtual assistant thing that I'm kind of doing over here on the side that we've kind of just been supporting clients with it. Maybe I could actually build that business up and do the same thing. And so we did that, and we were able to scale that way faster. We were able to double the size of the other company. And so now we've got 2 companies in operation. Both of them are 7-figure businesses inside months. And then really from there, I said, okay, let's double down on the VA company, because that one has the most legs under it, huge upside. And so we doubled down and grew that one like crazy.
Woo! There's a lot there. So everybody knows I take notes because it's so many good things. Okay, let's review this. You had an agency that was successful, 27 employees, nice fancy building. It gets closed down because these 2 clients left. Okay, was $250,000 in debt. Partner or new buddy comes along and says, close it down, start from scratch. Didn't do it at first, you do it. He tells you, I think this was super key. Do one thing really well, better than everybody else.
For one niche.
You say you started, you go from $3,000. I just want to make sure I heard it right. $3,000 to $100,000 in 4 months.
Yep.
You got to tell the people how you did it.
So I had one virtual assistant that did nothing but prospecting. His only job was to start conversations with my perfect target avatar, which at the time was wedding venue owners. So reach out to everybody who's a wedding venue owner, period, end of story, and start a conversation with them. All you have to do is get them to respond, and I will see it and I'll step in. And most of this was done through organic, social media outreach and all those things. So we did that. I got on, I basically just jumped into the conversation, provided value, got them to pick up the phone and talk to me on the phone, close deals. I knew that I could close if I could get them to hear me out. We were offering something in a way that nobody else was. And so I knew for a fact that all I had to do was get them on a call. If I could get them on a call, I would have a huge closing percentage. So that was it. That was the first thing. So we closed a couple clients. We knew what the fulfillment process was going to be because we had one client, but we tweaked the model because we wanted to only do the one thing for that one niche. And so we changed what we were providing as a service, streamlined it down and made it very simple. And basically I fulfilled the first client on video on a Zoom call with the VAs that I had and said, this is how we fulfill services. The client signs up. Here's the next thing that happens, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Boom, they're happy. And I went through every single piece of it. They created SOPs, right? They did all of those things. And then we had a process. And now we have that process and we are off to the races. So now because I have a team that knows the fulfillment, we can sell as many as we want because we got fulfillment. And so then the only question was, how many people can we get to listen to me talk? And as soon as we get more and more people to listen to me, the more sales we brought in. And so I had one VA who, I paid him essentially $1,500 a month, and his ROI was over 3,000% over 4 months. because he generated with me over $100,000 a month in top line revenue.
That is crazy. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody scale that fast to that big of a number. But this is what you were saying about, this is why you're putting all the onus on sales, because if you can't sell, then it doesn't matter.
If you can't sell, you don't have this opportunity. Yeah. I mean, there's no issue with fulfillment. If you know what you're going to fulfill on the back end, whether it's you're shipping product or you're fulfilling a service and you're actually doing something for someone, there's going to be repetitive pieces to it, right? As long as you're not customizing everything. And again, I productized the output of what we were delivering. So it was very much productized. It wasn't super in crazy detail custom. It was very much productized that it was similar for almost every single client. That made our fulfillment process super fast. And so in one, this is tough. We would charge $5,800 upfront for us to build out our marketing system for wedding venues. We would charge $5,800 upfront. It would take us about just under 2 hours to completely fulfill the entire service from top to bottom and hand them the keys and say, hey, you're good to go. Right. And the team is virtual assistants. So you have cost leverage. And so, that's where you have these, great margins. And then we had ongoing services. And as long as we did the setup right, we're optimizing as we go, it really didn't take a lot of management. And so that's where, the business was able to scale because there's not a lot going on the back end over time.
So then in your case, the 100K wasn't necessarily recurring. These are all pretty much one-off.
No. So then every single client had a recurring, we were their marketing team. And so it was recurring. It was forever. So, month one, it was, obviously the first month we have, a huge build out cost, right? So we have more money coming in, but you still end up with a reoccurring revenue model on the back end. So we were definitely retainer based and everybody paid us a retainer for our services.
Okay. See, there was so much, y'all, he dropped. Okay. You got to go back to this agency you closed down.
Okay.
Because I know you learned a ton. So tell us your lesson on diversification, because I tell clients about it, but I think hearing it from you may be better. Why should we focus on diversification?
I'm not going to give you an answer that you like. I'm not actually heavy into diversification in the beginning. I think, the whole idea. So I love the thing people always like to go, oh, you're supposed to, wealthy people have 7 streams of income. Yeah, but they all started with one. And if your one isn't fire and like you're not crushing it with one, 2 is just going to distract you and make 1 less, 2 less. And now you're barely getting by. So, getting to, for example, $109,000 a month in 4 months was great. But what we did is we were able to say, okay, let's do it also over here in another business. But we didn't stop with the first business. We actually doubled the next 3.5 months. So we went to over 200,000 a month in the next 3.5 months after we hit that 109. And it was like, okay, so we have the model now. The only thing we got to do is pour gasoline on it. Now, I knew and I felt very confident that we had this system built down because I was ready outside of sales. The only thing that I had to do inside the business was just make sure that clients were kind of happy. And later we could put in a customer success person. But I didn't have to actually operate the business. The only thing I had to do was get teed up so that I could close the deals and then bring them in. On the virtual assistant side of it, when we decided to scale that one, the only thing I did was sales. And we were able to grow that one way faster than the first one.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't like it. This is your episode. You get to say whatever you want to say because you have earned that. Okay, let's go to the next part. Biggest lesson you learned in having to close down, I would still say, a successful business.
Well, I mean, it was successful to a point until, you're not making enough to pay bills. I would probably say to reduce the size of your team faster when things are really, really bad. Taking on debt to keep a business alive isn't, I probably wouldn't advise anybody to do that again. I don't think that's a healthy way to do it. I think it depends, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a total fan of debt. Like, I think good debt is awesome. I don't think that the way that I was doing it was at all a smart way. I was taking on personal debt to keep the business alive when it should have been, business debt instead, so that I could have BK'd it if I had to. But all in all, I would say that probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned, or one of the biggest things I should have done differently, is I should have probably let staff go earlier. But I had a huge fear around letting people go. I'm going to hurt their family. I'm going to hurt their income. Like, what are they going to do? Well, it turns out when my back was against the wall and it was like, things aren't changing, my wife's not pumped that I'm $250,000 in debt, right? It's because it was personal to me. We had this office lease. That's the other part of it. I, sometimes tell, we had this office lease that I owed 3 more years on the lease. So about $180,000. They sued me, got a judgment. I owed it. We settled later for 30 grand. So it was like a good deal. But, all of those things combined, the amount of stress that it caused was not a good thing. And so had I let people go earlier, I may have just saved the business and kept that operation open. So that's a lesson. But if I had done it right then, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today. I don't know. So that's kind of a challenge to kind of decide if that was a lesson or if it was a blessing. But I would say that letting people go early would have been better. People will figure things out. Like, every single person that we had to fire and let go, every single one of them moved on to better careers than they had with me. Way better. Every single one of them, if I look now, they're totally happy and great, and their life is great. So I didn't destroy anything because the business didn't do well. So that'd be a huge lesson. Is like, be smart with how you leverage your debt, your staff, all those things.
Okay, let's talk about that, because we just talked about that in our mastermind at the end of last year about it's super hard, to your point, to do, but everybody figures it out. So don't be scared to make that cuts, because your number one responsibility is the health of the business.
Yep.
Okay, see, he agrees. See, I be around smart people all the time, y'all. Okay, I gotta go here because I think you said something that some people would say is controversial. And I know for a fact some of my clients have said this. So you said, I believe in good debt.
Yep.
Tell us, how are you defining good debt and why you think it's a good thing to use or leverage?
Well, you said
and I'm going to be your opposite person on
yeah. So you said the word, it's leverage, right? So if you were to look at it, let's just say like a line of credit in your business. Well, you can take your cash out of your business to go double down on an idea, to go invest in another business if you want to, acquire somebody else. However, if the debt that you can use will allow you to cash flow, then it's probably good debt. If it's being used for something that can produce more income than you have, then it's not bad. Now, there's a lot of people who are going to get into trouble with it because they just don't use debt effectively. But like we like to go in and buy a client roster from someone, a business that doesn't have a strong brand, but they've got, 40, 50 clients. And we can go in and we can say, hey, listen, we'll just buy all your client roster. We'll just buy the business essentially, but we just want the clients, right? And we'll move them into our service and so forth. But instead of giving them cash, we'll use our debt. We'll use a line of credit to pay for that. If it's a positive cash flow, that will pay the debt back off. We didn't use any of our own money. We can still pump that into our business. But that line of credit just produced us cash flow that didn't exist just the other day. And so that's good. So if the ROI, is coming back to you and the income coming, it's higher than the debt service, then it makes sense. And so
I love it.
I would love to use the bank's money for every single thing possible. I don't want to use my own money.
Okay, but I don't want to owe people anything. I'd like to be free to just do what I want to do instead of being in debt to somebody else or something else. Cash only.
Well, then, okay. So the interesting thing about it, so I always love to put it into the perspective of real estate because, there's like the Dave Ramsey guys, no debt, no debt, no debt. The dollar is debt. Period. End of story. Like all of money that exists, I think they believe 97% of every dollar that exists in circulation, whether it's digital or on paper, is debt. It's not because we have physical dollars. It's because you deposited $1,000 into a bank account and then they created 9,000 more and lent that money to other people. So they created loans off of your deposit, which means that the 9,000 more than the 1,000 you deposited is fake money. It doesn't exist. It's numbers in a computer. They literally created money out of thin air. That's not real. There's no such thing as that money. It doesn't exist. However, that is the way that the US dollar operates. So play the game in the same way. So I look at it in a real estate sense. If you are buying a house, and let's say for easy math, we'll call it $100,000. And if you follow the pay cash for everything, no debt, we don't want any debt, we don't want to owe anybody anything. Okay, that's fine. However, while you're in a position where you're going to spend $100,000 of cash to put down on a piece of real estate and buy that, or a business or whatever, instead, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go get a loan for $80,000. I'll use $20,000 of my own money and put that down and buy that property. Well, I still have 80, you have 0. So I can go do it more. I can go buy a bunch of other properties. So I put 20 down over here, 20 down over there, 20 down over there. So I have 5 properties and you have 1. And if my cash flow is less, that's fine, right? But I still have 20% equity in all these properties. You have 100% equity in 1. What are you going to do? How are you going to save up to $100,000 again to catch me? You can't. It's leverage.
I cannot.
It's leverage. And so that's the reason that debt is powerful. Debt creates leverage. And so that's the way that we use it in literally everything that we do.
I love it. I can no longer argue because I agree. So there's that. Okay. I want to jump to this one. Now we got to talk finances, of course. It's only right. You already knew it was coming. So running, you said 2, not just 1, but 2 7-figure plus agencies. So tell us about the importance of finance. First off, do you have a CFO?
Yes.
Okay. So we know by default you invested in that. By definition, you automatically think that's important. Tell us what are maybe some of the cool things your CFO has you focusing on so that you don't get stagnant or run into these cash flow types of problems.
Well, we follow the profit first model. So I'm a huge fan of Mike Michalowicz.
Okay, shout out to Mike Michalowicz, profit first.
I like that philosophy because it's very, very simple. It's not like some crazy hardcore financial model. It's very simple. It's like putting, cash in an envelope and say a little bit of money goes over here for that and a little money goes over here for that. But what it creates a focus on is that we get to pick what profit, what percentage of top line revenue we want as profit. And when we start to make the decision and say, this is what our profit margin is going to be, and we take the money, we sweep our accounts, and we do it every payroll, right? So we do it twice a month. We're going to sweep the account. We're going to take every single dollar out of the income account. And we're going to say, hey, this percentage of it is profit. End of story. There's money left that has to pay for everything else. But profit came first. And that's what I love about this model. We choose, and now we got to figure out the rest. So if our expenses rise, okay, we got a problem. We still have to produce this much profit out of that amount. We can't take, because profit comes first. We don't take it out of expenses. We take it out like this is first. So we put our profit over here and then we go, shit. Now we got a challenge because we took on some extra expenses. We hired some additional staff. Well, what's the solution to every problem? I said it earlier. It's cash flow. So sell more shit. Sell more stuff. Sorry, excuse me. So the important part is to sell more. And so if you're going to run into in a situation where you're going to increase your expenses, the first thing you should have done was increase your sales so that you could afford the expenses. And so we very, very much follow this, and I'm pretty religious about it. I do it in each of the companies that we have. So now we have 6. We do it in each of the companies that we have. And those are all run on the profit first system so that we consistently
Did you
have
just
a
say you
margin.
have 6 companies?
Yeah. So we operate 6 companies. I mean, there's more, but yes, we have 6.
What?
Yeah.
More than 6? I thought we were at 2.
Well, yes, I have the virtual assistant company. I have the marketing agency. We have a SaaS company that sells to the same niche. So we have a software. We a kind of a funny one we started was a freight dispatching company. And so my sales director came to me and said, "Hey, I got an idea I want to pitch you on. Let's sit down and talk about this." And I'm like, "Oh man, how much money are you wanting?" And he goes, "Let's just hear me out." He goes, "You're going to be surprised." And so he came to me and said, I think we should start a dispatching company." And I thought he meant like 911 dispatching. I said, I don't think you can just do that. Like, I'm pretty sure you can't just start a 911 dispatching. He's like, no. I mean, freight dispatching. Like all those trucks, there's logistics in between them picking up a load and driving it to wherever it needs to go. And he goes, and dispatchers are what they use. And we can have the virtual assistants do the dispatching. And I'm like, you are kidding me. And so that was pretty fascinating. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk this through. I know nothing about it, so I don't really know how this is going to function. And so he ends up spearheading this. I become, a strategic advisor when it comes to the marketing and when it becomes operations and those things. And he builds the team, he manages the team to the point that they then manage themselves. And so we get, again, sales. We get a whole bunch of trucks and they're paying us money to do dispatching. We have a team that does dispatching and they service our clients. And it's a really cool business. It's super, like, it is 100% hands off for myself and Dakota, who we ended up partnering on this. We literally don't have we don't do any of it. The team does everything. And so it's pretty sweet. It's a very, very simple business model. And so there's that one. And then just last year, we started a data resolution company. So anonymous website visitors, matching them to profiles and delivering them as leads. And then we have a backend activation system and we do that. And so that company, that one grew really fast. Like within a couple of weeks, we grew that one from like up to 50 clients super fast, and then kind of scaled it from there. And so, I think that's it.
Dang. Okay. Now you just see, every time you say something, I'm getting like 2 or 3 more nuggets. I got SaaS. Well, no, let's do this one since we're on partnerships. Tell us the impact of having strategic partnerships, because you mentioned your boy Dakota and you said, hey, is he the one who came with the idea, right?
Yeah.
So it's his idea. You came in to support. You used the other businesses to kind of help what you could there, but it's essentially hands off for you. So tell us about the importance of finding the right partners, trusting them, what you should even maybe look for when somebody brings you a business idea, because we know that all of them are not the best.
Well, that's true. And I mean, I'm very much into character. Somebody, I will trust somebody way too early and too fast for most. But I believe the good in people pretty heavily. Dakota's been around with me in my companies for almost 3 years. Like, I know him, I know his family, I know his kid, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I've been around, like, I know his wife, I know who he is as a person. And so it was very easy for me to say, yes, I'll listen to your idea. Yes, I'll put money in. I know what he's going to do on the back end because he's proven it. But also you weigh your risk reward. And so somebody wants to bring you an idea, somebody wants to do a partnership with you, there's a risk reward ratio to it. Am I willing to put in something, and then what's the outcome that I'm going to, the output that I'm going to get, and how is it going to affect my lifestyle? I'm heavily a believer that you don't invest or you don't start a business that's going to alter the ideal lifestyle that you want. So I don't build businesses that affect or change my lifestyle.
Wait, but I thought on the front end though, you got to be willing to put in a little bit of extra time because it's the start.
I was, right? And now I don't. So I look at it and say, so an example, we started the data resolution company last year. And I said, all right, we have 4 months of my attention in this business. If we can't get it to the point that I don't have to operate it inside 4 months, then we're not going to do it. And so we drew out a plan. Okay, what's it going to take? How's it going to look? And can we go execute on it? And we were able to go do it, execute it, put somebody in place to manage the business, put somebody in place to fulfill the services, all of those things. Sales are kind of automated, a little bit of sales on Dakota's side, and that's it. And I don't operate the company. I don't actually do anything. And so the company makes money every single day, whether I look at it or not. The freight dispatching company is funny because I never look at it. And I just did like 2 days ago. And I was like, oh shit, look at that. There's money in the bank. I don't oversee it. My finance director does. And it's an interesting kind of philosophy, is that if I say, hey, this is the business, this is the lifestyle that I want to be able to take my kids to school every single day. I want to be able to take them snowmobiling every single day that, there's snow. We want to do outdoor things. We want to camp. We want to travel. We want to do all those things. And so if I can't do that because I'm bogged down with a business, then that's the wrong business for me. That's just my take. But the leverage is created because we have processes and we have people, right? And so we built it with virtual assistants.
Okay. Now you mentioned SaaS.
Yeah.
Next 3 years, what do you think do you think there will be a higher importance on SaaS? Do you think SaaS is going to continue to grow? Do you think it was just a fad? Like, tell us your thoughts on SaaS and the future of it, at least in relation to you.
Oh, I think SaaS is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to remain strong. I think there more and more platforms are shifting to that model. Everybody kind of has to if they want to keep up. There's gonna become a threshold though. We're gonna hit a point to where the number of subscriptions that people have is gonna catch up. Right? Because now you have the counter effect of it, which is there's platforms that are being designed right now that will help you go find all the subscriptions so that you can figure out which ones to cancel. Right? So there's now a counter effect to all the subscriptions that people are purchasing. But the SaaS model is fantastic. It's an amazing way for somebody to build something, get a whole bunch of customers, and then be acquired if the company's great, because the multiple on it is gigantic. So I think it's going to continue to grow. I don't think there's any slowdown in that. I think it's just I think people are going to have to work harder. I think kind of junky SaaS products aren't going to stick around. And so yeah, I think it's just it'll continue to grow.
Okay, you said the multiple on is going to be gigantic. Break that down for us, because we know about selling companies and acquisitions and those things. Why do you think the multiple for SaaS may be better than the multiple on a regular service-based company?
Well, because it's tech-based, right? So you sell it once and pretty much for the most part, the tech takes care of itself. And so as a software, you're selling a subscription where you have guaranteed MRR for a period of time into the future, whatever that contract might look like. And you have very little labor costs, right? And so typically margins are super high on SaaS compared to service-based businesses. But also, more importantly, is that the churn is less with SaaS than it is with service-based. I think the average SaaS has like a 4% churn rate, but the average, like for example, an agency churn is upwards of almost 40%. So with that type of churn, it's really hard to sell a business and go, well, we're going to buy it today and then 40% of our clients are going to be gone tomorrow. That's tough. But when it's 4% or, a 4% churn on software, it's a much better business to buy if you can get your hands on it.
Dang it, we're running out of time. This was so good. Okay, y'all, I'm going to recap it. No, before I recap it, I'm going to recap first. Okay, there was a ton. Let me go to my notes. Okay, we got, he's going to bank that you can find better overseas talent as long as you do the right research and use the right people. But there's a higher chance that they may be better and more qualified. You just need to put more time into researching the the culture, where you're getting them from, so you can make sure the personality fit matches the right positions. You talked about your feelings on diversification. You talked about a lot on fulfillment and the importance of doing it correctly. SOPs, processes. You talked about investments, making sure that you're partnered with the right people that you trust. And I'm not even going to say do life with, but maybe, hopefully, in the perfect world. So that way you can do things that still don't interfere. And I think that was super key. Picking a business model that does not interfere with your ideal lifestyle. That doesn't mean at the front end, like you said, 4 or 5 ish 6 months, we're going to go hard. But after the 6 months, we need to start seeing some immediate ROI. You talked about do one thing really, really well, better than everyone, which I think is super key because, there are some agencies trying to do like 10 things
Oh yeah.
and then they wonder why that's a whole different podcast. You talked about what's good debt and using the proper leverage. You talked about SaaS and the future and how you think that can help you get a great multiple. Just so much in this episode. So I want to keep going, but we want to honor your time. So all that being said, tell the people if they want to work with you, maybe they want you to help them find some virtual assistants and tell them the best places to put them in their business. Tell them again, name, company, best social media platform to reach out, maybe a website, anything you want. This is your time.
Cool. Yeah. So my company is Level 9 Virtual. So level number 9 virtual. My email is joe@level9virtual.com. Super easy. That's it. Check out the website. There's definitely content that can explain a little bit more about what we do, how we do it, what our philosophy is, what our mission is. If you want to book a call, there's literally a bright old yellow button that says book a call. You'll talk directly with Dakota, who can, work strategy with you and just kind of talk you through how we can serve you. One of the cool things that I take super pride on is that I'm a sales guy through and through, and I put me in a position I'll close deals. But we took a different approach to the VA company in that we want to take a strategic and a consultative approach in how we work with clients. And so we really want to focus on how can we serve you and how can we ensure that what we're doing and what our services provide will actually move the needle for you. So if it's not going to, Dakota is informed. He is very well educated in this, but also he's very smart in deciding if this isn't going to be the right fit at the right time, he will not let you sign up. So what we don't want is we don't want somebody to take their money and spend it on what they think is going to support them. But in reality, we know it's not. And so we will very much advise you in a different direction if that's the best thing for you. However, if we truly believe in our heart of hearts that we can provide service and make your company grow and help you and free your time, I'm huge into creating free time. You as an entrepreneur, every single person started their business to create freedom. That's what they wanted. Everybody did. The reality is that very few entrepreneurs will ever see freedom. Financial freedom, time freedom, almost nobody gets it. And because of that, that's why Level 9 Virtual exists. We literally take time and give it back to you on a silver platter. And so my entire company operates by virtual assistants. They run literally everything. And so I think it's very important that people have the opportunity to create freedom so that they can be with their kids. They can spend their time with their family. They can do the things that they love, or just simply focus in a different area of their business and get a higher return and make more money. So there you go. That's my pitch.
Yeah. Or take care of the sick people if they
Yeah,
have the
that's
flu.
right. Yeah, take care of the sick people in the house for sure.
All right, man. Well, this was a blast. I enjoyed having you on. Y'all, you heard it. So you need to tag somebody who needs help, who needs to think about getting their time back, who wants to learn from somebody who's done this at a high level and keeps repeatedly doing it. So, with all that being said, check out Joe. You see, super chill, but a wealth of knowledge. Check him out. Let him know how much you love the episode, how it helped you, how it switched your mindset on your percent, or maybe how you view using debt. There's so many good things in here. Go back and listen to this episode 2 or 3 times on your break, at night, whatever you do, doing the dishes. Like, you need to go listen to it. So with all that being said, thank you guys so much. This was another episode. We are dedicated to bringing you guys the best. Hopefully on the next episode, you won't see this little guy. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until the next time, stay safe. Appreciate you guys.